Hello, everyone. 5 minutes after I tried this tool, I knew that I would never use Tmux again. Now, I really hate replacing tools that already work pretty well, but I like to try things. And in this case, I really just had no choice. I had to switch. So we're going to be talking about a tool called Herdr. And there are many reasons why I like Herdr, but there's one small, very particular to me reason that's very important that you guys might not care about. So we'll talk about that at the end. Like many of you, I had several Tmux sessions running on my local computer or on VMs, and it was great. And before that, I had Screen. The old heads might remember Screen. Well, Tmux came along, and I dropped Screen, and Tmux became my default. I'd open it up, I'd have sessions and windows and panes, and I'd start working and I'd be off to the races. Now, Herdr has emerged, and I think it's a significant improvement. Okay, so some of the selling points here that they have on their homepage is that it's always running. That just means you can detach. You never hunt for the stuck one, and I believe that refers to the fact that it's agent native. Okay, so it's built with agent sort of monitoring capabilities built in. And we'll take a look at how you're able to basically see if your agent is running or if it's stuck or if it's done with the work that you had it do. And also it works with basically any agent harness that you already sort of have going. Okay, so let's go over just some basics here so that you can see how it's not that big of a switch from something like Tmux if you're already using that. And I know you're thinking, okay, I got to switch to a new tool. That sucks, but you'll see that you can learn it quite quickly. It's actually pretty intuitive if you're coming from Tmux. After a few hours, basically, you'll pretty much be good to go. So it's similar to Tmux in that there's a prefix key, okay? So I'm going to do a bunch of commands. I'll put them in the comments, probably just maybe see what I do instead of trying to run each one because I'm going to go kind of fast. But just like Tmux, the prefix is Control B. I believe that is the default over there too. So you'll do Control B, and then you'll do whatever command for some specified action that you want to take. For example, if I want to navigate a bunch of different files or the workspace, I would go Control B, which is the prefix, and then press G. Okay, and that takes me so that I can look at all the stuff that I have open, right? Okay, so some simple commands. So let's say you're starting a new project. What you can do is you can go ahead and do prefix Shift N, and that's going to go ahead and create a new workspace. So you go prefix Shift N, and it'll create a whole new workspace with empty stuff. Now, once you're in a workspace, you can go ahead and create tabs or panes or whatever you want so as to arrange your whole workspace. So I'll do prefix, and then let's just say we want to create a tab. I'll hit C. So that'll open a new tab, and I can just call it like my new tab, right? And then here, this is a plugin I have on the sidebar, but we'll talk about that later. I can go ahead and split this up. So let me just close this. And here I can go ahead and do prefix V, and that'll open a new pane on the right. And now I'm in here. So that's how you create panes and tabs. Now let's say you want to resize one of these panes. You would go prefix R and then use one of the resize keys, which are H, J, K, L, H and L for left and right. So I can make this larger, right? And then J and K to make it bigger vertically. Okay. And as I mentioned before, if you want to navigate to different places, to different workspaces or panes, you can just do prefix and then press G, and that'll open up sort of a navigator thing, and you can search here. I'll do 103 or whatever, and then enter, and it'll take you there. Let's go back here. Okay. One other form of navigation is you can just navigate all of your workspaces here on the left. So I'll go prefix W, and that'll actually take me into the workspace navigation situation over here. See? So I'll do prefix W again, and I can just go back up everywhere, move around, etc., etc. So there's sort of like a global navigation here where you can find all the panes, all the workspaces, all the tabs. Or if you just want to change the workspace, maybe you're switching context, working on a different project, you would do prefix W and then navigate on the workspace navigator here on the left. Another highlight, I think, is that it's pretty easy to work with work trees, Git work trees in Herdr. So if you want to basically work on a physical copy of the same file and different versions of it, you do prefix Shift G, and that'll create a whole new work tree for you, and you can merge them together later or whatever. Now, of course, you can attach and detach. You do that prefix Q, and now I'm detached. But Herdr is still running, right? So if you want to leave agents running, you detach and walk away or whatever, it'll stay alive in a virtual machine. We'll go back in here by doing Herdr, and now we're back inside. Now let's actually talk about the really cool stuff, which is that it's agent native. So it's really aware of what your agents are doing. So what Herdr allows you to do is basically run a whole bunch of different agents and different harnesses and keep track of them all. Okay, so that's the whole agent native part. So I've got an agent here opened up in OMP, and you can see that all of the agents are basically down here on the bottom left. Okay, and you can rename these close them, open them, whatever. And there's a little circle here on the left of each, and that basically tells you the status of each one. Okay, so I've got an Inkling running over here, or I've got my local one running in some other pane somewhere. Okay, and one thing is if you want to switch between tabs, you can do prefix N or prefix P to go back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to go prefix P to go back to this one here. So I'm in OMP, and what I'm going to do is just say something like, write me a 1,000 word about agent harnesses. And it's going to go ahead and do this. And after it kicks off, I'm going to open up a status window, and we're going to see how Herdr recognizes that the agent is running. And it's also going to notify us when it's completed. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick this off. And now I've gone into another agent here to sort of wait it out. And we can see that the color for that agent has turned a yellow color. So we'll also go into the navigator here, and we can press something like W to see the agents that are working. We can press I to see the agents that are idle, and B for the ones that are blocked. So as you recall, we had that one working that was writing the poem, and it just finished. And it made a sound. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that, but here at the bottom, there's a notification. And also, it's no longer working, so we can go back to idle, and now pretty much every agent is idle because they're all done. If you're doing something where it requires a human in the loop and it has to ask you for permission, it'll appear in blocked, and you'll have to say, oh, okay, I approve. But at least you don't have to basically find what each of your agents is doing, and you can sort of just keep track of them here, right? So I think that's really neat. And if you have basically a whole army of agents going, you can keep track of them this way. It's actually really straightforward. And this is why the name is very appropriate, because you have a whole bunch of agents running wild and you can herd them. Okay, more. You can go ahead and add plugins. So you can see I have this sidebar here. That's a plugin. You can also open and close the main sidebar by doing prefix B, and that'll pretty much minimize that. You can navigate to the plugin marketplace to see if there's any plugins that might interest you. You can also create your own plugins, as I have here, where it basically made a plugin for me that allows me to view an agentic taxable Robinhood that I have, and I can see all of the positions and refresh and open up the details for each if I want, things of that sort. Now, this is a very specific one to me. I'm not going to publish it or whatever, but you can pretty much add anything you want to your workspaces and to your panes. That's kind of the whole point. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. I don't want to make this video too long, but one thing I do want to get to, which is why I prefer it over Tmux. You might be saying, okay, a lot of things do the agent monitoring thing, like Cmux or something, and Tmux is already good enough as a multiplexer. So why do I really need to switch? Well, okay, I'm not the sharpest knife in the shed. Bruh. So there's one thing that I could never figure out with Tmux, and that was, first of all, using the mouse and copying to the clipboard. I just could not crack it for months. I tried several different ways. I get something that sort of half worked, and then I ultimately decided, okay, I'm just going to use Tmux, and copying is not in the cards for me. But in Herdr, that's not really a problem. It's pretty much built in and really carefully thought through so that you can copy right out of the box. So if I highlight something here, it'll just go and immediately copy to clipboard. I don't know if you can see at the bottom. And that's really useful, okay? I don't have to like cat out a whole file into iTerm and then copy it all once I detach from Tmux. That was a total nightmare for me. So I personally just really like that you can copy to clipboard. That's pretty much the main selling point. It might not be for you, but for me, it certainly was. Okay, so that's Herdr. I know it's a pain to be switching dev tools all of the time, but I think that out of all the terminals / emulator multiplexers, this is probably one of the cooler ones and easiest to get a hang of if you're coming from something like Tmux. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you've transitioned or if you're staying with Tmux or one of the other ones. Leave me a comment, hit me up on Discord. Love you. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye.